Okay, QRZ is the frequency in use. Attention on the line.
Yeah, please give us line.
Okay. I hope you guys can hear me on the Zoom meeting. Attention on the line in the room.
Yes.
At 7 o'clock, we're going to start our meeting. So go ahead and bring up the agenda. So thanks. I hope I'm coming through on Zoom. Okay. So thanks everybody for attending. It looks like we've got a better turnout than we've had in recent months. I'm Bill, Alpha Alpha 4 Quebec, and this evening is my last meeting as president. So I guess y'all came to watch me leave. Before I pass the microphone around for everybody to introduce themselves real quick, is there any guests in the room? Stand up and tell us who you are. So what's your call? Mike X-Ray Romeo. Okay, so Mike W7 Mike X-Ray Romeo, welcome. Any guests attending on Zoom who are not yet members? Okay. Why don't we pass the microphone around? Each of us can introduce ourselves real quick. Yeah.
I'm waiting to be in focus here. John N7NWL.
Eric KC7ES, outgoing secretary.
Mike N7MW, semi-permanent treasurer.
Richard N7NT.
Dave N7RK.
Ron WA0KDS.
Reinhardt K7RGG.
John K7WP.
Brian W7JET.
Norm N9AV.
Walt NJHG.
Bob K7BHM.
Steve K7 Sugar Papa.
Tom NQ7R.
I'm Virgil K7VZ.
Busy running the camera all throughout that, so he's walking around the table. Okay, we got everybody in the room. You guys on Zoom, go ahead and introduce yourselves real quick.
John K7WP. Kidding. Mike KC7V.
Jim KC1BB.
Bob NA7RH.
Rick W0RIC. Happy New Year.
Ready?
Doug K9RZ.
Anybody else? Okay, since I don't remember what's next on the agenda, could you bring up there we go. Okay, step through to the next slide. Okay, the Presidential Service Award. We actually normally present our awards at the banquet. So we brought the awards to the banquet, but the two award recipients, W0RIC got the DXer of the year, and he's on the Zoom meeting right now. But I also read off the Presidential Service Award. Several years ago, the club realized that sometimes somebody does so much for the club that they don't have time to get on the air and operate DX. So they don't make DXer of the year, but they really deserve an award. So they created the Presidential Service Award. And the club president gets to decide who wins it. So last year, the nominating committee had not found a VP candidate in time for the election. So we entered 2022 with a vacancy. And the primary duty of the VP at that time was to seek out new speakers for the meeting. So that was a real deficit. And Virgil had started attending some of our board meetings, some of our other meetings. So we kind of jokingly said, "Are you ready to become VP?" And he pushed us off for a while. Finally, he said, "Okay, I'll do it." And it turns out he has been an absolutely fabulous VP. Not only did he immediately fill the whole calendar up with speakers, but he took over all the electronics. Everybody in the room can see all the electronics he's got set up. So we're running Zoom and in-room audio at the same time, but you guys on Zoom can't see that as well. But he's running all that, and he's doing a bunch of other things that technically should be the president's job, like the president's message on the website and ADAW, Arizona Desert Airwaves. Half the time that's written by Virgil. So he's really doing a great job. And I, for one, really appreciate everything he's done. So I specifically wanted to give him this award. So we're going to stand up here, point the camera straight forward. Me and Virgil will stand in front of the camera, and we'll get a couple photographs for the website. Give me your right hand.
Oh. Yeah, I was staring right into that.
Yeah.
Do it in front of that thing.
If we can find a pastor to do the formalities. Okay, so it was important for me to get that one awarded. That's why I put it early in the agenda. If you could step to the next agenda item for us. Okay, so the nominating committee, which is John and N7WL, BHM, and a couple other guys, I forgot who, spent the last couple months making phone calls and trying to get other people to step up and serve as officers. And I really appreciate all the work they do, especially since I've served 2 terms as president, and I really want the opportunity to serve as recent past president instead. So what they have come up with is a slate of officers for us to vote on as shown above. For president, John N7W and NWL has volunteered to serve for 1 year. Vice President Virgil will stay on for at least 1 more year. Secretary, this slot is vacant right now. And in a moment, we'll be taking nominations from the floor or even volunteers if anybody's interested in it. Treasurer Mike N7MW will serve for another year. Director at large, which is a 2-year position, if I read that right, is K7SP, Steve. The director at large 2-year position for last year and this year is Ron N7RD. He'll continue. And now the immediate past president, which it will become me by default. So at this time, does anybody want to make any additional nominations from the floor? You can either create one of these positions as contested by nominating somebody else or volunteering for another position or for one of the named positions, or if you can get somebody to serve as secretary, that would fill out the whole slate. So nominations from the floor or from the Zoom meeting. Wow, you never heard a bunch of hams so quiet. Okay, so let's step to the next slide. Okay, so now we will have a vote. Yeah, so will somebody make a motion for us to approve the slate? Okay, so we've moved and seconded. And first from the floor, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Oh, good, more silence. And from the Zoom meeting? Just I heard one.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, Captain.
Actually, Captain Poole is my nephew. He's in the Army. Are there any nays from the Zoom meeting? Okay, the slate as presented by the nominating committee with that one vacancy is approved. So you now have a new board of directors. So what I'd like to do first is hand over the gavel. And after the meeting is done,
Thank you, sir.
right hand, there you go.
Thank you.
After the meeting is done, we'll have all the board members who are present come up against the wall and either be shot or be photographed. So here, you can have this part, Joe.
I just can't hear myself. I think next I'm going to cheat and look at the slides. Bob K7 BHM wants to do a presentation on historical aspects over the last year or so.
Okay, here we go. As a historian of CADXA and one of our charter members, I've been very, very fortunate to be involved with this group for actually not since 1975 when we chartered, but actually a couple of years before that. Funny story, when I moved from Chicago, a couple of years stint at Zenith Radio in Chicago downtown, I moved to Tucson, a little electronics firm called Burr Brown Research Corporation. And the first guy I met, I mean, absolutely the first guy I met, had a call sign, N7DD, and everybody knows Larry. So he and I got together. We had sons almost born within the same week of each other. So we got along pretty good. And he said, Bob, you got to come up with me, drive up with me to Phoenix, because there's a group that meets every month. They have a big social. It's a lot of fun. And it was the old Arizona DX Club. And we got together with that. And I know there's a couple of members, especially Steve Protus. And who else was a member? Mike N7 MW. They were all members. But the big issue was all they wanted to do was socialize. They didn't really want to talk DX. They didn't want to compare stations. They didn't do a lot of things that we as a club are doing now. So it's been a lot of fun. But along the way, I started keeping records of everything that we did. And since about 1983, I think, I volunteered myself to be the permanent, if you will, historian for CADXA. And I know one of the programs, I think in May, I will be doing a complete program on the history of CADXA. A lot of the fun we've had, a lot of the activities, the meeting places that we notoriously met, and just on and on and on. But I would like to make a little presentation on the past 2 years right now. CADXA 2021, 2022 in review. COVID-19, of course, has been devastating for CADXA, confirming in-person meetings since January 2020. Advancements in media, of course, like we've got tonight, we've been able to continue either on Slack or Zoom to allow us to still meet. And I know some of the meetings we had last year, we had 25, 28 individuals on to Zoom for the meetings, and it was very great. And I know that Virgil has put a lot of effort into getting different programs over the year. In April of 21 and 22, meeting of the International DX Convention in Visalia was canceled. Both years. Attempts to do virtual meetings failed miserably. And however, the meeting of 2023, it's coming up in a couple of months, is scheduled to meet in Visalia. It'll be a live meeting. Our annual May barbecues for 21 and 22 have also been canceled because of COVID. We did have a meeting just before Christmas. We met with the Scottsdale Club just down the street, down the 101 at the Arizona Casino, I think was the name of it. Casino Arizona. I was close. Good. And during last year and the year before, there were a limited number of de-expeditions by CADXA members. 2021 and 22, Fred, NA2U, went to a KH7M for the ARRL DXCW and sideband contests. Kelly, N0VD, was at D6Z for the CQ Worldwide sideband. He went to PQT for the ARRL CW, as well as D4C for the CQ Worldwide sideband contest. NA2U, KY7M, N7IR, and K7DR were in this year's CQ Worldwide down at PJ2, which was just completed. CADXA's Lee Finkel, KY7M, will continue to be the editor of ARRL's National Contest Journal for the third straight year, 2023. A great honor for Lee to continue that job that he's had there. Now, the DXers of the year for 2020 was Tom, who is in attendance tonight, NQ7R. The Presidential Service Award for 2020 went to Reinhardt, who's by chance also here, K7RGG. So we were glad that they were recipients of that award from CADXA. Now for 2021, both awards were awarded to C0 VID. In other words, we didn't have any last year. In 2021, 4 members operated the Arizona QP using K7 UGA, and we made over 4,000 QSOs. That was John, N7NWL, Rich, N7NT, Davis, AG7GB, and myself, K7BHM. Had a lot of fun at that contest. Just at the meeting with Scottsdale last month, I believe Bill indicated that Rick, W0RIC, received the DXer of the Year Award for 2022, and Virgil, K7VZ, got the Presidential Award. Congratulations to both of those guys. Where are we? Okay, even though the COVID was at its worst, the 2021 and 2022 August 14th annual special event station honoring the Navajo Code Talkers took place. We did it remotely for both years. The operators were Herb, N7HG, who is an honorary member of CADXA. His dad was a code talker. He lives on the reservation in northern Arizona, along with Ray, W7USA, and myself, K7BHM. We were operators remotely for that operation, and we will continue to do that. I believe this year they will be on the reservation again, operating in person. We also want to pass along our congratulations and thanks to the Scottsdale Club. They were successful in relocating our repeater, the K5VT/R repeater, to their site, which they call the Castle, out in, actually I believe it's in Mesa rather than Scottsdale, but it's been on the air for about the last 7 months. We've had good reception all over the East Valley, as well as those with high enough antennas out in the West Valley. But we're certainly grateful for having the repeater there. No, the Scottsdale Club. Was it Superstition Club? I thought it was the Scottsdale Club. Okay, yeah, and we did. Yeah, we did that. Brian, W7JET was a super guy in far as getting things going, putting the antennas up and getting the repeater on the air. Thank you, Brian. I really appreciate that. Well, yeah, we still have a brand new antenna, right? That has to go up. Yeah. Okay. The new antenna is going up soon, a little bit better gain, a little bit better coverage. Let me see. After several reviews of the CADXA rosters, of which I have every roster from about 1978, it's a stack about this thick. I go through every year and determine who should receive a 20-year continuous service certificate and also a 40-year continuous service certificate. This year, a continuous member for a 40-year certificate was Mike Fulcher, KC7V. That's certificate number 12. So we've had 12 40-year or more members so far. And there are 2 members receiving the 20-year certificate this year. Tommy Bergren, WE7K, his certificate is number 58. And Patrick Stoddard, WD9 EWK, will receive certificate number 59. So that kind of indicates what the longevity of this club means. I mean, we chartered it in 1975, as we indicated earlier, and right now our membership is what, over 130, Mike? Well, it's close to 123 according to today's records. As I do every year, I would ask we all pause a moment for those CADXA members, friends, and family of CADXA who have passed on during the year. Members, just heard about this one a couple of weeks ago. W7QS, Wayne Zimmerman, out of San Diego area, passed away. Don Aldridge, WA7RLL, passed away. Wayne, by the way, was a charter member, and he was our 3rd president in 1978, and he continued for the next 23 years as far as directors, membership, coordinators, what have you, for our group. Also, we talk about beloved members of families who passed away. And last year, Jan Stearns passed away, the beloved XYL of Ned, A7A. Also heard very recently that K8B and Gary Capek's son passed away last year because of the COVID. Very, very sorry to hear that. And just most recently, we heard about John, W7WP's XYL Betty Arthurs, passed away. Very, very sorry to hear that. So could take a couple seconds to remember them. Okay, and thank you for allowing me to do my annual thing, and we'll look forward to it next year with no issues with COVID, and a great new year for everyone. The new president, John, takes here.
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate it. Just for everybody's information, because they've never seen me present before, I tend to walk around and wander a whole lot. So I'm going to apologize to Virgil for having to chase me with a camera, but I'm going to try and not walk around too much. Anyway, thank you, Bob. I appreciate the historical aspect. And Virgil, if you would put the next slide up on, please, wherever we are. Roundtable. I'm going to start because I've got the microphone. How did my DXing go in 2022? I got a 100-watt station to a dipole at 15 or 20 feet, depending upon what you're looking at. So it went reasonably fair. I picked up 5 or 6 new ones, a couple on 10 on the 10-meter contest, 1 or 2 in one of the DX contests. I don't remember which. So for what I've got, and the results I've had, I'm pretty happy. DX plans for 23, I think was the second one. I just keep on doing what I'm doing, work on antennas because there's a higher return on your dollar for antennas. I am going to be crazy enough with my killer station to try and work Beauvais. And the antennas that I am going to be using are the killer 20 foot high dipole. And it's a 135-foot dipole fed with ladder line through a Johnson matchbox, which I love. And I'm also going to put up a 2015-10 3-band trapped vertical that I actually made out of half of a driven element from a Cushcraft A3S, which is another really long story. So I may put an amp on those, I'm not sure, but time will tell and we will see. So that's kind of my 2022, 2023 scenario, and I'm going to pass the mic off to Mr. Tom, NQ7R.
Well, I'll try to keep things fairly short. I have two things that stand out from last year, both fairly recent. One was a good contact and the other was a non-contact. The non-contact was on 60 meters. There really is a lot of DX there. Anyway, one night, TL8ZZ came on, 60 meters. He got all the way up to minus 11 on the report, which, as we know, really doesn't mean anything. But anyway, I tried to contact him. I could never get more than about 15 watts out of my K3. I tried everything. I redid the sound card. No deal. The next day I turned the rig on and I get my full 100 watts on 60 meters. I don't know what the heck happened. But anyway, the good QSO was J28MD. I've only ever worked the country, I think, twice, 20 and 15. Well, they were spotted on 30 meters. So I thought, well, what the heck? So I have to give a little credit to Ned, AA7A, because a couple of years ago, he told me about this wonderful site called PSK Reporter. So I tuned it up to 131. I couldn't hear the J28. So I thought, well, I wonder just where I am getting to. So I fired up, called the CQ, looked on PSK Reporter, and one of the stations that reported hearing me was J28MD. In fact, I noticed that my red marker jumped way down from where I had started. And I thought, that doesn't make sense because I hadn't decoded anybody. Well, it turned out it had been pushed down there by J28MD doing their Fox and Hound. So I just sat there and listened. And pretty soon I heard them working other stations. So then I started calling again, and all of a sudden, bam, there they were giving me I don't know, plus 20, a +4 report or something. The only band that I worked them on this year was 30 meters. So anyway, you just never know. I guess, Steve, you want to be next?
Well, this last year, I developed a couple of problems in the shack. One is the antennas on my big tower. The rotor keeps freezing up. I don't know why, but I haven't replaced it because my stack of antennas, I figure, is about 35 square foot, and it's hard finding a rotor big enough for that. The second problem was the main AC switch on my amplifier. The only way to get it out is to totally take the amplifier apart, and then it looks like a proprietary switch to boot. The net result is I've been playing primarily FT8 barefoot at 50 watts and with the antenna in one direction. So that sounds like bad news, but I've done fantastically well. And for 2023, I may just do the same thing. I've already started playing for the year, and so far it's been barefoot on HF. I do have a separate amplifier and will use it as necessary on 6 meters, but not on HF. And the antenna, I hate climbing the damn tower. I still do it. But I may have to just live with the rotor as is.
Sounds like a lot of activity, Steve. Last year was probably mediocre for me. Operated a couple of VHF contests and just on and off, work couple here, a couple there, what have you. However, this year coming up, I don't know, they say the older they get, every once in a while you pee your pants, inadvertently. Well, I know when I can tell the operator at the other end, thank you for number 339, I will probably pee my pants again, because that will be Vouvet. I'll need one more North Korea. And the only way we're going to do that is send our basketball player over with a license and have him operate from North Korea. That's the only way we're going to be able to do it. So I'm stuck at 339, hopefully.
Walt, NJHG. Last spring, I bought a hex beam, and it sat in the backyard up until next month. But hopefully next month I'll finally get it up on the roof. Many things got in the way of getting it done. Of course, I rebuilt the whole thing. Working wise, I've expanded my DXCC to 175 contacts confirmed. So that was from about 120 to 122, somewhere in that area last year I started. Hopefully I'll improve it again this year. Thank you.
Yes, Norm, sorry, Norm, N9AV. Yeah, last year was real quiet. I think it really only worked one station that I really sort of wanted to work, and that was on 6 meters. One of the states I needed, Rhode Island, was on once, and using a vertical, I managed to work them, so that made me pretty happy. But other than that, it's been pretty quiet, working on computer stuff instead.
Brian, W7JET. So let's see, last year, finished or confirmed number 100 on 12 meters and on 30 meters to complete DXCC on 10 through 80. Only need 25 more on 160. So, should wrap that up in about a week, I guess. Working on my CW. We're getting that speed up and doing pretty well contest style, but still need to slow down quite a bit to rag chew, but having a good time with that and doing summits on the air. Coming up on number 3,000 points for activating. Probably finish that up this year for the third mountain goat. In fact, I was operating on a summit today up in the Sholo area. This year, probably going to keep plugging away, seeing if I can add a few more countries. I confirmed 270 today. That was kind of cool. 2 more to go, or two waiting to confirm. The Crozet, I managed to get him on 20 meter FT8 about a week ago, I think, when he first started operating. And then there's another one floating around in the pool there. Haven't heard back. But anyway, what else? Antennas. So gonna make some tower improvements here. I got my buddy Mike here, who's a new ham, who's helped me out with a lot of my tower work, and we're working on the next version of my my homebrew tower that Mike's helped me out a lot with building. So we're going to do something with that this year so I can put up something a little beefier, up a little bit higher. Right now it's a pole tower that we designed about 10 years ago, Mike. We built that thing probably now, close to it, about 10 years ago. And it's managed to survive quite a long time through all kinds of stuff. So yeah, that's about where I'm at for right now. I'm going to send it over to Mike.
Okay, I'm Mike, W7MXR. I'm new. I haven't really done anything this year. Don't have a setup except for a mobile setup in my truck. And just talked to Brian back and forth.
I'm working on actively corrupting Mike and getting him to the point where he spends lots of money and has all kinds of stuff in his property.
Yeah, that's the goal for 2023.
I'm John K7 Weenie Pistol. And been kind of a quiet year for me due to a lot of events in our lives. But had some contesting, got in some contesting. But of course, when FT8 showed up, I needed him on on digital. So we're able to knock him off on digital, waiting for Bouvet. Need him on CW and digital. So that'll be fun to chase him around for a little while. Looking forward to a little more active year. Nothing's changed in the shack to speak of. Pretty basic equipment. I'm still running a little FT 450D, would you believe? And have a couple old alphas. So they keep the shack nice and warm. And nothing's changed in equipment wise, but we hope to be on the air a little bit more this coming year. And still doing a lot of contesting. I enjoy that very, very much. And but when stuff pops up, always watching DX Summit or V7CC, you know, just to see what's going on. And I must say that the Slack window too is very, very good. I don't know how many of you guys are watching that at all. The CADXA Slack, DX Slack, that's fun to watch and just see what guys are hearing and all. So I encourage you to do that. So any of the tools that you can use them. It's always fun. Happy New Year, everybody. Good to see everybody.
Happy New Year, K7 RGG Reinhardt. Most of the radio activities in our household are by the XYL Ingrid. We were much out of town this past year. Participated in a long distance competition at Quartzsite and at Flagstaff for the Pluto event, W7P. What else should I say? While we were in Europe, we suddenly got a message from our neighbor telling us that one of our towers had fallen over. It's the one that has all our VHF and UHF equipment on there. And it fell just so close to our camper, like a half an inch away. It could have really destroyed it. Other than that, we had a very good year and looking forward to more good stuff out there.
Ron WA0KDS. I know I worked way too much FT8, but you know, that's the way it goes. But at least I worked in FT8. So I got one new one up to 334, I guess. Hopefully get another new one at the end of the month here and get 335, and the rest of them are going to be rough. Other than that, getting up. I bought an IC 9700 by something showed up in Cures, and I want that, so I bought it. So now I had in one of my rooms a satellite antenna I had bought 25 years ago at some swap meet someplace, so it's still in a box. So I've been assembling that so I can try to work some satellites. Other than that, that's been about it.
Well, N7RK. I listen every day, but there's not a lot of TX to work. I don't work FT8, but I worked a few new band countries back in September, that D6 and one of the Africans. I forget which one it was now. But I needed the D6 mostly on 80. And the night he was on, I could hear him. He couldn't hear anybody. And the other night, he was just too weak to call. So that was kind of disappointing. I got married 3.5 years ago. Some of you know, some of you don't. And my wife is from Sonora, so we've been back and forth across the border quite a few times. My brother-in-law lives in Hermosillo. And on one of the trips back in June, we finally got to meet up with Marco XC2S. He's got a nice contest station that Larry Pace helped him put together. He's about 15 miles from his home, and had a good time there. We met up again the next trip down there. So been doing that. I picked up a new radio also. I picked up an FT991A back in September, mainly for 6.2 and 432. Despite the new radio, I'm still using my FT1000MP for my Sirius DXing, and that thing is 23 years old now, but works fine. So that's been pretty much it for me. Oh, a lot of you guys know I used to be a very serious 80-meter DXer. There's no DX on 80 meters anymore. The band is just a wasteland. And even in the contest, there's hardly anything on 80 meters. It's pretty disappointing. 160 isn't a whole lot better. So that's it.
Richard, N7NT. Last year have been preoccupied with a few non-radio things, but in the meantime, worked a little few contests. Finished out my flex station. I've got 6600 radio, the flex amp, and a flex tuner. Boy, it's really nice how that integrates. Everything works just so sweet. For 2023, got a couple of antenna projects in the works. We'll see how those pan out. That's it.
Thanks, Richard. Eric, KC70S. 2022 brought me maybe 5 or 6 new countries, all-time new ones, and still trying to chase down some cards. So I think we're at about 258 worked and 253 or 4 confirmed. So there's always going to be that delta until stuff starts showing up. For 23, definitely have to take the hex beam off the roof and redo that because it's got some condition issues. And don't really have much planned beyond trying to find more time for this hobby. Work is keeping me too busy. So. And it's been a pleasure to serve as your secretary this past year. Please, no one rush, hurry up and volunteer.
Mike, N7MW. I had one major accomplishment this year, which was to finally catch up with Kosovo. I had worked them back before they were an official country many years ago. And somehow I always seemed to be, while I was still working, I was working overtime, travel, something. Or later on, my late wife's illness got in the way and I just missed them. And finally I caught up with them this year, which was the only all-time new one I got this year. It was a one overall for mixed DXCC, but more importantly, it was for CW. And I got one of the original CW DXCC certificates when they first offered them back in 1975, number 219, if you're counting. And this Z68XX put me on the honor roll for CW. That was my big accomplishment. Next year, I'll just keep trying to fill in some more band country things.
Bill, Alfalfa 4 Quebec. I did almost no ham radio during the entire year. January, I worked the VHF contest, portable from a Soda Peak. So obviously there's no DX there. And Winter Field Day, which might have included a Victor Echo or a Kilo Hotel 6 or something. But I'm pretty sure I didn't work a single DX for the whole rest of the year, or any other operating for that matter. But I did repair the antenna and get back on the air for straight key night on January 1st. So maybe I'm back on the air again, and maybe I'll play with the radio a little bit more. So we'll see what happens. Cell phone camera.
All right, I'll go last here. So DX wise in the last year, I think I went from about 150 countries confirmed, somewhere around 180 right now. So added quite a few new ones. didn't do anything really other spectacular DX wise, but starting last Martin Luther King weekend, so almost a year ago, I started digging the hole for a tower, and went from that to getting the base, getting all the bolts, the cabling, and so my big accomplishment, I didn't quite get it done in 2022, but this past Monday I had three friends come over, and my tower is vertical with a KIO hex beam on it. It's a 40-foot MA40 tube tower, or crank up tube tower, but put a hex beam on it. So looking forward to using that in addition to I've got a vertical wire antenna I've been using up until then. I think probably the operating highlight of the year is my son and I went up to John's cabin for the AZQP, and we took first place in our category up there. So that was really cool. I think we worked about 355 stations, and we didn't really keep track of who worked what, but I know Evan probably knocked out 60 to 80 contacts. So we were able to, there was a couple runs where we were able to get him on the radio, and it's fun to just sit back and log for him. So he's been doing field day and whatnot for several years with me, but he's got to where he's real confident with the phonetics, and you get him on a run and you can't stop him. So that was good. And especially he's been fighting me we haven't received the plaque yet, but he's insisting that it's going to hang in his room instead of the ham shack. So, it's fun to see his excitement on that. So I think that summarizes what I've been up to.
If you would get our Zoom folks on, please, sir. Mr. Bob, NA7RH, you're at the top of the screen. So if you would like to go first, please, sir, go for it.
Okay, I have audio on now, I guess. So, all right, I've had a pretty good DX year, but it's not a whole lot better than last year. I was a little frustrated because I ended up with almost the same number of DXCCs and the same number of band slots as last year, but I worked two new ones. That was it. But anyway, I'm up to 256, which is still a long way from honor roll or 300, that's for sure. But certainly enjoying the DX. I did, while we were in the meeting here, I finally got Crozet, which was pretty good. Let me see if I can bring, the sharing screen is disabled, but but I was going to show the printout from the Crozet, which I just got minutes ago. So anyway, it's not confirmed yet, of course, but it's there. What else? There's not much else to say. Next year's plans, mostly working on antennas to get this. I think that's my main restriction that made this year about the same as last year in terms of DXCC accomplishments, but hopefully we'll get it on 160 with a real antenna. I think I have sort of a real antenna on 6 meters, which is I'm looking forward to being able to use in the coming summer. So that's about it for me. Great to hear all the stories of everyone here in the club, and thanks for doing this for us. This is NA7RH.
Okay, thank you, Bob. I appreciate it. Jim, KC1 Bravo Bravo, you're next down on the screen. So if you would highlight 2022 DX stuff and what you're looking forward to in 2023, we'd appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Well, I'm more than happy to brag. Anybody who knows me knows this is true. Okay, 2022. I had specific goals starting into 2022. I wanted to finish off the 8-band DXCC. I needed 12 and 10 to finish off. I started the year with 65 confirmed on 10 and 50 confirmed on 12. I finished off confirmed DXCC on 12 and 15, or I'm sorry, 12 and 10 by February 15th. It was just an amazing run. There was a lot of stations that I didn't, countries I didn't have that who were on, and I got them. So that was a big highlight. After I did that, we were starting to get into the 6-meter season. So I took my HF antennas down and I put up my 6-meter beam. Of late, of the last couple of years, I've been chasing the Fred Fish Award. I started in the 6-meter season about early in April. I started with, what was it, 170 confirmed grids for FFMA, and I basically took the summer off to do HF to do this. At the end of 2022, I now have 467 confirmed FFMA grids. So I'm making progress on that pretty well. Then I decided once the 6-meter season closed down, I went back up on HF and started working things. I finished the year with 216 DXCC countries worked. 75% of those were done, or 75% of my 3,500 contacts were on FT8. And that same number is about, it's about the same as low power. I didn't use the amp all that much on HF this year. Let's see. Finished off the year with 268 confirmed DXCCs on LOTW. And getting back over to my HF numbers, this is the first year I was able to do DXCC on 3 different bands, 15, 12, and 10. On 15, I had 112 countries. 12 meters, I had 162 countries. And 10 meters, I had 146 countries. Plans for 2023. I've got a second tower that I've been fighting with for months to get to stand up, and I finally figured out the mechanics of getting that happening. So that's going to give me 2 towers. I've got a third tower sitting in the yard that I'll hopefully get started on later this year, 2023, to get up. And so I'll be able to, I've also got a 4-meter, 20 meters, sorry, 4-square antenna that I'll be putting up. So that'll get me on a lot of different bands. My goals will be to increase my 6-meter DXCC count, my 2-meter EME count, and hopefully start making more progress on 160 meters. That's it from KC1BB.
Okay, thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. Mr. Rick, W0RIC, what'd you do in 2022 and what do you hope to do in 23?
Kind of a slow year.
Don't shake your head.
Kind of a slow year last year in 2022. I just wanted to thank the club for DXer of the Year award. And it's a lot of fun chasing the DX. I did very little contesting last year. I only did 4 contests, which is about maybe a third of what I normally do. And was pretty much focused on just DX. Last year I did work 252 countries, which was pretty good. And 2/3 of those were on FT8. I'm hoping this year more of the FT8 guys get back to sideband and maybe a little CW, but so far it's not looking like that. For this year already, I'm at 114 countries, and it's about 90% FT8. So we'll see how the year develops on that. The DXer of the Year award plaque is already up on the wall, next to many years of the Lit of the Year award. So I'm very proud that this plaque is a little bit bigger than the Mike's laughing Lit of the Year award. Mike, I saw you work some DX on 30 meters a little bit ago. That was pretty good. For the year, let's see. Oh, my Dell desktop that I use, or I should say my radio uses, went back to Dell twice for 2 warranty repairs. Both times it was the hard drive. And as soon as that puppy came back, I tore the old hard drive, SATA drive out and put I think it's about a terabyte solid state drive in. And so far, seems to be working just fine. I'm always good when I can see Mike laugh. I'm always having a good night. That's pretty good. As far as Slack goes, Slack is great. I really appreciate guys posting on that. I wish more guys that are DXing would actually use that, or even if they see something spotted from someone on the West Coast, heads up would be great. I'm going to try to spot more for everybody on Slack this year. I try to do the best I can with at least the rare stuff. Hopefully it helps. And I had a message up here. I think Bob is still in the audience. There's a Mike, do you see that spot? K5 Dennis Rodman? I don't know what that is. Bob, you want to log in and work him real quick? I know you need him for the last one.
Yeah,
I'm at
P5DR.
P5DR, right. You see it too?
Of course.
Great. Sorry, Bob. Mike and I have it. Yeah, I'm stuck at 329. Crozet was 329. I'm crossing my fingers that Beauvais is successful this time finally for 330. And then that'll give me what, 10, I guess 10 more for honor roll. And when you look at the last 10 that I need, I think maybe 1 or 2 will be activated. The rest of them, slim chance, especially something like Scaffold Reef or some of those rare ones. I don't think we'll ever see those again, but never know. You know, my goal is to get every band working on the station here. And I think I've pretty much succeeded with that. So good news, our heads up from Dave on the 80 meter and 160 activity. My big vertical is still horizontal on sawhorses. Was thinking about putting it up for Beauvais, but now I'm kind of having second thoughts whether or not I should go through the trouble. Other than that, for this year, just looking forward to more DX and maybe getting back to some travel, maybe head to Europe this summer. So we'll see how that all plays out. So thanks, guys. Everyone have a healthy new year. Back to net.
Okay, thanks, Rick. I appreciate it. Mike, KC7 Victor, you're up next.
Well, thank you. And congratulations, Mr. President.
Thank you.
And also congratulations to Rick, the DXer of the year, well deserved. From a DX standpoint, I'm currently at 351 overall, including the deletes. I reached the top of the honor roll back in 2002 and have been able to maintain that since. I need 1 more for all of them on CW, which is P5. And I need 1 more on phone, which is the new current Southern Sudan Zulu 8. So if I can knock those 2 off, I'll have all of them on the 3 modes. Well, not 3 modes, but on 2 modes. I'm still only like at 320 something on Digi, so I got ways to go there. My goals, well, this past year was the biggest year as far as QSO goal. I made 28,200 contacts. 77% of those were CW. Most of it was contests and CWTs, keep my CW skills sharp. And 20% on Digi and 3% on phone. So that's kind of been that way for quite a long time on an annual basis. I have goals for 2023. Right now, I've got 60 feet of row 45 tower up. I only have 1 rotatable antenna. That's a 7-element 6 meter beam at 23 feet. Everything else is fixed right now. I'm mainly using it used to be NR6Ms. It's a Force 12 DXer, which is 3 elements on 20, 2 on 17, and 4 on 15. It's at 32 feet fixed at 45 degrees towards Europe. I run about 800 watts. I haven't pushed it to 1500 yet, but that will come. So I got to get 20 more feet of tower up. I've got a 4-element 40 to go back up, a 10-element 6 meter Yagi. And I haven't decided yet on a tri-bander for the for the other bands, and hopefully a second tower at some point in time. So all those are in the works. I've got plans to get a 2-meter EME array back up. I've got 65 countries confirmed there that I want to finish DXCC. And also trying to get this 6-meter stuff up in time for the E-season this year. I'm at 54 so on 6 country-wise. So I'm chasing that 3,000 DXCC challenge. So that's my goal. Like Jim, I got 17 more to work to complete FFMA. So that's another thing I'm working on this summer. And other than that, I just day-to-day activity, mostly, I will tune CW. I did work Z6 on 15 a couple days ago on CW. But a lot of my activity, just casual stuff, has been FT8 because tuning the bands, I don't hear much. And so that's go up to FT8 because that's where everything's at these days, seems like, except for contests and the CWTs. I'll be doing the RIDI roundup with K8IA this coming weekend, probably using his call. So we'll be active in RIDI. And really, that's about it. I'm trying to stay current at the top of the honor roll because I don't want to drop down at this stage of the game. I was going to tell BHM, I forgot I'd been there 40 years. I don't know how that's possible because I'm only 42 years old. So I started very young, obviously. But other than that, I got big plans, get the tower stuff finished and completed. I got 20 more feet of tower to go up and then figure out how to get the antennas in the air and then look out, more DX to work.
Okay, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. Before we go to Doug, Mike?
Yes.
Bob, K7BHM, has a question.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Good, Bob.
Good, good. Oh, that wasn't the question. Did you get that magazine I sent to you?
In the mail?
I sent a copy of CQ magazine from '92, where your station was on the front cover.
I haven't got it yet, but I haven't checked the mailbox in a few days either.
Oh no, I sent it before Christmas.
No, I didn't.
I'll give you a call and let you know what address I used. I don't know.
Okay.
And just a note for Rick. Yeah, if we could get Dennis Rodman over to North Korea again, that'd be great. And also, I drove by your old QTH off of Quebec Avenue a couple of weeks ago. Rick, go ahead.
Okay, thanks,
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah, is the tower still down?
Yeah, Bob says yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll
we've
give
got-
I'll give Dennis a call tomorrow.
Okay, thanks. We appreciate that. Next up is Doug, K9 Romeo Zulu.
Hi, how you doing? Happy New Year to everyone. I can't compete with Mike's 28,000 contacts, but I did make about a little over 1,700 contacts. Interesting statistic. And worked a number of contests and worked even some new countries. I think I don't have an exact count on that, but I think it was around 10 or so. And going forward, I'm going to try to automate the antenna switching this year. That's been a project I've wanted to do. I can do it manually, of course, but doing it automatically would really be nice. And we've got to make some adjustments to the antenna. One of the storms turned the antennas that are about 50 degrees off on the rotator. Again, not a disaster or anything, but just a frustration. So always a project in the works. So looking forward to a good 2023 for working stations and DX.
I have got to say before I found confusion.
Hey, Doug.
Yes.
Yeah, just for those that don't know, Doug is my neighbor, lives a couple blocks south of me. We were behind you yesterday when you pulled out and went left on Beardsley and then right on Old El Mirage. I don't know if you were looking in your mirror, but my wife was giving you a 5 and I was giving you a 9. So I'm not sure if you saw that or not.
No, I didn't. Yeah, we probably pass each other periodically, being close.
I usually honk.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't see. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Happy New Year, neighbor.
Likewise, Happy New Year.
Okay, thanks, Doug. I appreciate it. Next and last, I think we've got Tommy, WE7 Kilo. Now can
Tommy,
you
you
hear
there?
me?
Mute.
Hey, Tommy, WE7K, are you there? Can you hear me? Do we have him?
Looks like he's muted.
So is this one of those nothing heard, not in log moments?
Back to net.
Do we have Tommy on? He's not there. Okay, apparently Tommy is not there. So did we miss anybody else on the Zoom attendance or attendees? That's it. So thank you everybody for sharing all that stuff. No, it took a little while, but it's the first time that we've had this many people in person to get together, and we appreciate everybody. I personally appreciate everybody being here, and the Zoom folks, thank you. So let's go to break and let's come back. It's about 8:10. Let's come back at 8:20. We'll adjust. We ready to go? Okay, Zoom attendees, I'm not seeing you, but that's okay. Everybody here is here. Time for the treasurer's report. Mike, you've got it. Here's the microphone.
Okay, we are in pretty good shape. At this point, we have a little over $9,500 in the checking account and some petty cash on hand. We are receiving, I think at this point, we've got about 75, somewhere between 75 and 80 people have renewed. Several checks came in today that I haven't opened. Can you hear me better now? So there's several $100s that are yet to be deposited. You can see the recent expenses we've had, the plaques and the GoDaddy website builder renewal and so forth. Recent deposits there, $900 for the month. Total expenses for the month, $474. That's the right balance. Upcoming transactions, I forgot to note one. We have a $198 bill coming up for renewal of our post office box in Tempe. Other than that, everything else is current. At the moment, the paid member, the member count is actually 123. We had another silent key and one person did not renew. So the current count right now is 123. And as I said, the renewed at this point is somewhere between 75 and 80. I'll know when I open the rest of the checks. Oh, I have a couple other things to ask about. I have been tasked to create an inventory tab on the spreadsheet stuff I keep the roster on. So people that have any kind of asset that the club owns, I would like to hear about that from you. Who has it, where it is, what it is, any other information you think is pertinent, please send to me and I will add to the tab there. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Mike. Appreciate it. Next slide, please. Dues are due. I want to touch base on this. Dues are $25 a year per individual. Family members are reduced fee of $12.50 each. Badges are $12 each. Middle paragraph note, and due to recent changes in IRS reporting regulations, we have had to temporarily suspend accepting membership renewals by PayPal because effective January 1 of 22, the year we just finished, the IRS told all of the PayPal and third-party processing companies that they had to report to the IRS and the recipient any credit card payments that exceeded $600. That has since moved on. They backed that up, so it does not start until a week ago, January 1st of 2023. What we did was Mike and Al Alton, who are the current treasurer and immediate past treasurer. For a number of years, they have simply used their personal PayPal accounts because it was convenient. With the new IRS reporting requirements, Mike spent a truckload of time trying to get a PayPal account for us, was unsuccessful because we don't have an IRS tax entity, which is my term. It's not a corporate structure, but it's a taxpayer entity. We do have a taxpayer ID. The short version of the discussion is that in order to go back to taking PayPal, which we should continue to do because since 2020, just over 31% of our members renewed that way. So that's a third of our membership. We need to keep doing it. In order to do that, we need to do two things almost simultaneously. And I've spoken with Lee, KY7M, previous officer board member. He's an attorney. And he recently went through the process of doing a 501c7 setup along with Ron K5MM, who is a CADXA member, and he's also a CPA. In discussing options with Lee, the short version is everything else is way too complicated. The 501c7 is most likely what we want to pursue. The high points of a 501c7 are that A, it is specifically geared towards social groups, which is what we are, and those groups have to receive less than $50,000, that's $50,000 per year in income, which currently is pretty much where we sit. So once we get the 501c, the board has to decide on which route we're going to take. My recommendation after Lee makes a presentation to the board is most likely going to be a 501c7. If you want to know kind of what it is and be confused, Google it. And then once Lee presents it to the board, we're going to discuss some other options plus it, see what kind of decision we come up with. We will let the membership know. At about the same time that we get the 501c7 in place with the IRS, then we will fill out that portion of the PayPal website, which will allow us to go back to PayPal. I would like to do it quicker rather than later. One of the main reasons for that is that in the Constitution, dues that are not paid, renewal dues that are not paid by the meeting in March, which I don't remember the date, but it's the first Thursday, those members are considered no longer members. So I would like to get it done mid-February, end of February mainly, or maybe. If we run into problems, then my thought is that the board will take whatever action we need to take to have a one-time temporary allowance to exceed that March cutoff date for membership renewal. That's it in a nutshell. Lee's going to make, I've talked to Lee, I've asked him to make a presentation to the membership. He was going to be here tonight, but he had some other scheduling conflicts. So that's dues are dues in a nutshell, and the PayPal status and the 501c7. So if we have questions at this point, we're starting to run short on time. Make them brief. I'll try to answer them, but right now that's pretty much what I know. Any Zoom attendees have questions? Okay, that takes care of the PayPal situation. Dues are dues. You can renew dues now, bring a check or cash to the meetings, get up to Mike, or mail it to Mike at either the PO box address or to his home address, which are in a number of either Groups.io or Slack emails that have been sent out. CADXA banquet. I think it was December 9th, Friday evening. We met with two other groups, Scottsdale Amateur Radio Club and Marca. There were about 50 attendees, maybe 55. There were 14 or 15 CADXA members there, so we were about a third of them. In addition to reasonably good food, reasonably good time, the Scottsdale Club made a brief presentation after the program. Bill made a brief presentation after the program. read the 2 award citations. Actually, Mickey, K5ML, is reading the DXer of the Year citation award for Rick, W0RIC. And then Bill read the one for Virgil, who had some scheduling conflicts also. The program there was interesting because it was dealing with current advances in medical electronic stuff, specifically relating to, what do they call them in your heart? Heart pacemakers. Thank you. I'm old and forgetful, but I'm comfortable with that. And now they're like the size of half of your little finger. It's just astronomically insane. But it was a good banquet. It was good to meet with some other folks and see what they're doing and share with them what we were able to do. And that pretty much takes care of that. I think the next slide should be Visalia. And Larry, WOR or W07R, says the banquet seating continues to go smoothly and routinely. Everything points to a successful in-person Visalia experience. And he and Ned may report more at the meeting, but not tonight, I don't think.
I can give you an update.
Okay, is that Mike, KC7V?
Yeah, it is, because I'm
Okay,
on the
jump
committee
on
with
in.
that. We everything's still a go, and we've got about 185 people so far signed up. You know, registration is open. I've been working on all the programs for Visalia. We've got a full slate, including a DX DX forum, DX Academy, a contest academy, DX University and a contest academy, YL forum. Still working on some other things too for attendees that aren't hams, like you know, a little trip or something of that. That's still being worked upon. But the main presentation Sunday morning is going to be on Bouvet, assuming it happens. Saturday night, Glenn Johnson, W0GJ, is going to do a very entertaining talk on what is a ham. Glenn has been in this hobby for a long time, well-known, good guy. And we've got DX presentations, contest presentations, got technical presentations. There's meetings that they start Friday morning, the presentations. And then Saturday morning are the forums and the DX forum, contest forum, and two slates of programs on Saturday afternoon. I think on Friday evening, we're going to have a special guest there's no 160 dinner set up this year at this point in time. So there's going to be a 160 social gathering. The guys who went to Palau, T88WA, are going to talk about their exploits on 160. So that's a bonus presentation, if you will. So otherwise than that, everything is on track. We still got a lot of work to do in terms of now it's a new year. We want to get up to 400, 500, 600 people signed up. So if you've thought about going, you know, get registered and come and visit. It's a fantastic time. Meet a lot of people, all DXers, contesters in the mix. That's what the focus is on. So it's not like a typical ham fest. This is our crowd. So that's it.
Okay, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. That takes care of Visalia. Next up, Tom, NQ7R, is going to go over some of the CADXA activities things. He has an award to present tonight. He has additional awards that he is going to give to me, and I'm going to get them mailed, and he can explain all of that stuff right now.
We'll see how this works. I never did pass my class in juggling, so we'll see. Anyway, before I actually start, I have an announcement, actually, well, 2 announcements. I have at my location most of what it would take to build an 80-meter 4-square, if anybody's interested. I have the switching box, but I don't have a controller box. I also have the makings for a 40-meter 4-square, if anybody's interested. The price can be pretty reasonable. It actually originally purchased from God, I can't think of his name, Paul, WAEF. Rex bought him several years ago, and then of course, never got him up. So he shows up at my house one day with this truck full of aluminum and says, here you go. So anybody, if anybody's interested, let me know, because I'm sure we can work out a good deal. Anyway, I did tell John that I will continue for this next year unless somebody has a burning desire to take over. But I'm going to ditch the digital stuff. So we're just going to go with a basic 4 categories, pretty much what we've done in the past. So going to the DX Challenge, I made up some certificates, and Rick, if you're not here, you're going to miss out on these classic certificates. They're one of a kind, so too bad you didn't show up. Anyway, as you can see, the first runner-up in the category of the DX Challenge is W0RIC. And as you'll see later, the print shop didn't come out exactly what I thought was on the computer, so I apologize for that. Anyway, Rick did a pretty substantial score, 932 entities on HF. But the real winner is K7SP, the man who never sleeps. 1,212 entities on HF, all at 50 watts. So pretty good accomplishment there. And let's see, actually the third person in the DX Challenge was me, and I can print these at home, so I didn't decide I needed to spend the money. By the way, it's going to cost you guys $12.52 for the certificates. And John said he would mail out the ones to everybody except Rick. He's going to have to come and get it.
But wait, there's more. We have 2 more certificates to hand out here.
Okay, anyway, going on to the next category was what I had called the double triple play. The idea was to work 25 countries on each of the 3 modes, and or if you chose on 2 modes like sideband and CW. Well, Jim Shriney was, besides me, was the only other person who, oh, I take that back. Steve entered a little bit, and so did Jim, KC1BB. But Jim Shriney came up with the most score. It doesn't sound impressive. It was 34 points, I think, but he worked most of the countries on all 3 bands. Okay, going to the marathon, the HF marathon, again, K7SP did a very good job. He was a 2nd runner-up with a total of 271 points, 231 countries and 40 zones, again with his 50 watts. So Steve gets that certificate.
Thank you.
The 2nd place winner for the marathon was Larry, W07R. Well, okay, we'll skip ahead. Steve gets one, I think one more certificate. He had the third highest score on 6 meters. So he had 77, and that was just countries and states. So he did a pretty good job.
Thank you.
I will get all these other certificates mailed out to their recipients over the next week, so they will get them in the mail.
Okay.
And that takes care of all of that.
So anyway, but John got them out of order here. So,
I did.
but anyway, the number one station on 6 meter was Lee KY7M. And he had 113 countries and states. Then there's one more 6 meter, and that goes to Jim, KCE1BB.
You can tell I'm new at this.
Yeah, there we go. So he was the third place on 6 meters. Okay. Okay, that's Rick's for the CW for the EHF challenge. There's Jim's for the triple double play. Like I said, Larry got the second highest marathon total, and Rick got the highest marathon total with I think 252 countries and 40 zones. By the way, I would say, well, let's see, it's a little late. You got about 4 hours yet if you want to actually submit to CQ Worldwide. Midnight's the cutoff, but we had about 6 people with over a 200-point total, which I think is pretty good for the club. Going to the DXpedition activity, Wes from Tucson, N7WS, had the third highest score for the DXpeditions. Jim Shriney had the second highest score. And Rick is another guy who doesn't sleep, and he worked 173 contacts on the DXpedition boat. I think that takes care of all of the certificates. If you can bring up the spreadsheet and find sheet 15, that's way over on the. Well, that didn't print out worth a darn, but for this coming year, these are the first 2 DXpeditions that I decided we would try. I also sent a message out on the CADXA groups IO. So coming up, starting this weekend, is the Congo, TN8K, and then another one coming up is 3B7M. And I always try to pick groups rather than individuals, because you never know how long, although theory on Cruzette is actively on practically every moment of the day. But most individuals, they do this as a sort of like a vacation kind of thing. So, sorry, I'm a little out of breath, but there's a reason for that. Anyway, I'll spare your agony and give it back to John.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. And congratulations to all the winners of all the certificates. Tom put a lot of work into this. This will be his last year. So if anybody would like to take it over, it's going to be simplified somewhat. We don't have exact ways we're going to do that yet, but it's going to go through a simplification process. And Tom, thank you for everything you've done for us. We appreciate that. Steve, congratulations, and congratulations to everybody else who won the awards. I'll get those in the mail to everybody in the next week sometime. Next slide, or is that it? That's it. Does anybody else either on Zoom or here in person have any new business questions, concerns, old business questions, concerns, comments? Okay. If you want to email me, and I'm going to send out an email tomorrow on both CADXA Slack and Groups.io. I have set up a new email address for me to use in the presidential position. And it's going to be cadxa.n7nwl@gmail.com. It's alive, well, operational. So if you want to tell me something you like, I'd love to hear it. If you want to tell me something you don't like, I would like to hear it. If you hate something, be gentle, but let me hear it. Because if the board doesn't know, then we can't try to fix it. And again, I'm going to send that email address along with some other comments out probably tomorrow or the next day. Anyway, that takes care of everything. I appreciate everybody being here in person. I would invite you to come back again as time permits. And Zoom attendees, I would invite all of you to also come back and bring your friends. Brian, thank you. Mike, thank you a lot for being here. We appreciate it. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Eric, KC7ES, second by Reinhard. All in favor, aye. Anybody opposed? You all voted no, really? Okay, we're adjourning. Thank you, I appreciate it, and we'll chat with everybody later.
Good evening all. 73.
Good night all.